Hi, welcome back to PhotoBite. I'm Josh, and today we're going to be checking out the DJI FPV combo. Right, let's get into it. So in theory, we should be there, pretty much there, right? What does it say in the form, the instruction manual? Hi, welcome back to PhotoBite. I'm Josh. Today we're going to be checking out DJI's FPV drone. Let's get into it. So it's a bit of a shame we couldn't get the review out pretty much instantaneously. So we've had this drone for a few weeks now. We have had a few teething problems with it, getting it updated and across we've had to use several devices, laptops and bits and pieces, but we've kind of managed to get it up in the air and flying. We was hoping to do it on the first day, and with previous drones that we've had from DJI, we've pretty much been able to update them and get them up and going pretty much instantaneously. However, we did have some issues with this, and then some bad weather made it so we couldn't really fly it, unfortunately. But we finally got it going, finally got it up in the air, and it is bloody awesome. So the DJI has a wicked new design. I mean, this thing looks hyper aggressive, really cool. I love the actual working cooling on the back of it. It features a bunch of sensors on the bottom for landing and distance, and on the front there is none on the sides or the rear or the top, so you could still crash it into those things, just be warned. So the battery itself does take up a big chunk of the design. It's up to 20 minutes lifetime, which is round about what we're kind of getting, depending on how aggressive you're flying it and what the wind is doing. The props are non-collapsible on this one, so they are more of a case of popping them in, popping them out. They are quite razor sharp as well, so I would be terrified of putting my fingers anywhere near this thing with the power it has and the fact that they don't fold down. Yeah, it features a 4K 60 frames per second camera on this one. It does go up to 120 frames per second depending on what other mode you're using. So from the moment you turn this on, you get an absolutely wicked growl out of it as it's calibrating, as it's getting itself up and going. It does 0 to 60 in 2 seconds and flies up to 97 miles an hour. And I have managed to get this thing going in sport mode, and it is like an absolute bloody rocket. It shoots straight up in the air, goes straight across the field. It's absolutely nuts. So to reach those speeds, you have to put the drone into manual mode, which is DJI's first ever drone that they've actually released with manual mode. So that means no self kind of stabilization. It is all in the remote. You're stabilizing the drone yourself. Luckily, they do provide this training experience where you can test it with the controller on your phone with the goggles on, so you can really kind of get a good practice in with this drone, because if you just go straight into it, the chances are you're most likely going to crash it. It does require a bit of playing around, a bit of practice, but there is this regular old sport mode and a normal mode, so you can still kind of pick this drone up. If you're used to DJI's previous drones, you can pick this up and kind of get going, but that extra manual mode does require a bit of practice, a bit of training inside of the app, just to kind of get used to it really. One super handy feature of the manual mode though is you can pause it, so you can get this thing right up in the air, upside down. You think, oh no, what am I gonna do, what am I gonna do? You can hit pause, and it should generally in time just kind of flip itself up and self-right itself. So it's quite a handy safety feature, and it's very impressive what DJI has managed to create with this drone. And you don't get that with your typical DIY FPV drone. So these are the FPV goggles, and they are absolutely amazing paired with this drone. They're fully adjustable for your eyes, so you can get them all nice and clear, featuring a micro SD so you can record your in-HUD footage. Features a really comfortable strap. This is all very comfortable, all really nice and padded. It's a really premium feeling design. And what's the most important thing is it provides a really crisp and clear image, so you can avoid those trees. So with your previous drones, you'd be controlling the drone with your phone, so your record settings, formatting your cards and so on and so forth. However, because you're not using a phone with this one, so all of that actually takes place on the side of the headset itself with this really nice joystick. You've got your record buttons, a back button, a select button actually on the joystick. It's really, really intuitive and easy to use. The only downside I have found to this is when you've got the joystick in your right hand, it's quite hard to actually change any of these settings on the go. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not going to be as fast as an analog system, but what they're selling here is the clarity. So you're getting a much clearer picture than some of the analog systems that you'd normally see, where they could be a little bit CRT, a little bit fuzzy from the transmission, but those are generally instantaneous, where the digital systems do have a slight delay. One thing to mention with the battery life on these ones, they're not amazing. It's only an 1800 milliamp battery, so I would probably recommend getting a couple more of these things, maybe a couple more for the whole drone in fact, because it's only 20 minutes or so. So if you want to fly all day for a good couple of hours or so, stock up on all those batteries and maybe a little bit more, but it's so much fun. So DJI has sent us 2 controllers with this. We have the standard joystick style controller with a lot of the buttons on it, so you can switch between your modes. So you got your normal mode, sport mode, and fully manual mode. You've got your home, you've got the tilt control, the start and stop. This is the pause button here, the magic save your life pause button. Tilt controls for the camera as well itself, and your record and photography buttons. You also have a special C1 on here which can be programmed for I think a few different things. The joysticks themselves also tuck away really nicely into the sides, so it makes it for easy transportation, although the drone itself doesn't come with a bag or can fold down easily, but the controller does, which is nice. And it features a nice new antenna system on this, but the transmission is mostly done from the FPV headset. So the standard controller is really, really nice, but the one thing I do miss about the previous controllers is sometimes I do want to put a phone in this so other people could see what I am doing, because you can actually take a feed out and show people on your phone, but having it here as well could be quite nice and handy. And this is the Top Gun controller. We had a go with this, and this is absolutely amazing. It's so intuitive and so easy to use. I mean, within 30 seconds or so, I was up and going, and I was weaving it in and out, a little bit of a slalom and stuff. It felt so good. With the trigger for your acceleration, so you can kind of point it up, and you'll see in the headset a nice little circle. So when you are pointing it up, you can see where you're flying up and around. You've got a nice pause button on this one as well, and your tilt controls and your record button. But this thing is super intuitive and really amazing to use. I much prefer using this controller over this controller. It's, in terms of getting some of those more cinematic shots, weaving in and out, it just feels so much more natural. Although the only downside to this I have found so far is you can't fly backwards. But other than that, who needs to fly backwards? No one. So my personal opinions on the drone. Is it really good fun? Yes. Does it make you feel like Iron Man or Top Gun? Yes. Am I living those childhood dreams of being Superman? Yes, all of the above. It's a drone that does everything really. The only downside is it doesn't have the stabilization on the side, so it's just the up and down stabilization. But it's the only drone on the market that can offer relatively stable cinematic slow movements and those super aggressive fast-paced movements. Is it a drone for me? Definitely. It's so much fun to use. I'd have more fun just flying the drone than actually just filming it for work, you know, darting in and out of trees. I absolutely love it. You know, there are some downsides to it, like where the previous traditional drones, you know, if you crashed them, you could pretty much rebuild them in the day. You know, you could throw on new arms, new motors, you could have those spares. With this, it doesn't have those spares, unfortunately. So it does kind of put it out of a category of, you know, those more dangerous things. Even if you are a really experienced FPV pilot, I'd still feel like having that fear of crashing this thing and the downtime to get it back to you with DJI insurance and whatnot, it's going to be a little bit of a killer for those kinds of really amazing shots, I feel. But again, this is like DJI's first iteration of this. Who knows what they're going to bring to us next? But, you know, it's not going to put this one out of the park for me. It's still a fantastic drone. The 20-minute lifetime on it compared to like a 4-minute lifetime of every other FPV drone that you can build yourself is just insane. You know, they've really knocked that one out of the park. The super safe like LiPo charging systems that they have, that they've always had for a long time now. Like, this is a drone that offers everything. It really, really does. The camera itself isn't the best in the world, but it is definitely the best in its class, especially for FPV drones, especially for, you know, that super cinematic, super fast motion shots. This is the best in the world for that kind of thing. And one thing you have to give it to DJI for is this really is the first time FPV drones have been brought to the commercial market, and they've done it in a way that is just spectacular, with a 20-minute flight time, with this amazing, really intuitive controller. Pretty much anybody, you could give this to pretty much anybody, a child, and they would immediately know how to fly this drone, how to pick it up, how to go with it. And for that, I really have to give credit to DJI. So yeah, so thanks for watching this review, and please let me know your thoughts down below and try and get to as many comments as possible. And with that said, I've been Josh, this has been PhotoBite, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care, bye-bye.